Hi everyone, it's Jerry. This is game 6 from the FIDE Women's World Chess Championship match 2025. Tan Zhongyi with the white pieces here trailing Ju Wenjun 2-3 in this race to 6.5. Opens with yet another English. So we saw this in games 2 and 4. And in games 2 and 4 at this moment here, we saw knight c3. This time around knight f3. Coupled with b3, queenside fianchetto, d5, bishop b2, and the duo broken up, not immediately challenged in this case. This gives black a window to eventually play d4, call it a double fianchetto setup in this game. There we go. And black continues now planting a pawn in white's house. Will it be challenged? Yes, but not right away. First, castles, knight a3, and okay, now here we go with e3. So decision time for black. Are you going to try and maintain the pawn or not? Now, I think this, how you make this decision, sort of look at the match situation, maybe keeping things a bit simpler is a good approach. And by simpler, I mean just giving this pawn up and playing a more standard structure, one where you don't maybe question, is this point going to be a liability or an asset? Black takes here on e3. You could make a different move, let's say put the rook on an open file, and maybe we have a position like this. Again, liability or an asset. Maybe it experiences some problems. Some b4 move. Knight supports b4. This point is trying to be maintained. Forget about all that. Black is willing to give up this strong point at this stage. Captures here on e3, and we now play with majorities. White has the king side majority, black the queen side. Continues to develop. Bishop f5. Knight e5. Bishop sees the world. This is a top piece, I would say, in the position. Knights exchanged. And from here we have queen to c8. Some defense required here over the b7 pawn. This is a top move. This is not a moment to just exchange queens. If you're exchanging queens, first of all, you would be helping a rook, and you would still have to sort out this problem. And there really isn't an efficient way to parry that threat. Pretty much need the queens on to defend that point. And this is a faulty move. You'd be losing a piece to bishop captures f6 if you're trying to tame that piece. So the queen needs to stick around. Takes a pit stop here on c8. White connects rooks. And the other detail behind queen c8, well, this is a top piece. Let's try and get rid of it. Bishop h3. Light square bishop exchange. Now the black queen hops to e6. This is a fantastic post. You don't have to defend this point anymore. You're going on the offensive. Follow up from here. Bishop falls back to b2. Keep in mind, if you're first addressing this threat here, if you go ahead and take the knight, and then try to take here, we'll hang on after that bishop recapture. There's an issue on a1. Now, the computer does want to play in this way with the capture on f6, and then go ahead and hop to an open file, play a knight versus dark square bishop, imbalance, calls it equal. But in this game, the bishop takes a step back. b2 it is. Now the knight hops in to e4. This is a very strong post. Now, what's potentially right around the corner for black are these ideas to take advantage of these gaps. f3, h3 holes. That light square bishop no longer around, securing these points. So there are these ideas. Maybe knight g5, queen gets on this diagonal, and there you go. That f3 square is officially being exploited. All right, knight e4 is also carrying a simple threat as well. It just happens to be this fork idea. Strong post, to be sure. There's a big difference here between the knights. All right, get to an open file. Black competes for it. Follow up, knight to c4. So these next few moves by black I really like. This knight is trying to do something productive. It's on a fine square right now. How do you react in this position here as black? Is this a moment to say, we still have major pieces on board? I don't have a flight square yet. Is now a moment to flick in the flight square? h6? No. If you're playing h6 here, white has a4, and this knight gets to stick around on c5. Nice, stable outpost, and because it's stable here on c4, that will influence black's ability to easily advance the queenside majority. This is black's moment to get rolling with the majority. Immediately questions the knight in this game. b5 it is. Follow up knight e5. This cuts off the queen's defense of the knight, but the knight doesn't have to go anywhere. It's f5. Now proceed with caution playing such a move. Can't run in reverse anymore and have an f6 g7 construction to tame the bishop. It will now constantly eye that g7 point directly. Is there a way to coordinate on that square? Doesn't seem realistic. All right, it's potentially weakening here for black. Knight is glued in. Potential 7th rank vulnerabilities in the air. All right, follow up from here, knight to d3. And my favorite move of the game coming up here, we have g5. Now, this is super committal. Again, this bishop's is a very risky move. You're clearly weakening your king position with g5. What's its point? Well, we don't want the knight to get to f4. Black is still trying to restrict this knight, robbing its every square. It continues to struggle. This knight is not happy being on this open file. You're just target practice for major pieces. It still needs to find a home. Now, there isn't a way to really take advantage of the weaknesses behind g5. How do you get some, queen bishop battery, queen on these dark squares? It's just not happening. So let's see white's approach. We have knight e1. Looking forward to the f3 square at some stage. Bishop f6. Computer doesn't like this move. It's calling this position here around minus 1.5, with the top move being here in g4. And the queen has to fall back here. It's saying if you go here, there's a problem. Queen is in hot water. You have to give up the exchange. So it's looking at g4, queen e2, and then advancing the majority. Okay, you could view it as advancing the majority and also taming this knight that remains on its back foot, still without a good forward move. That's how the computer wants to do it. Kicking off with g4. And this one, it's bishop to f6. And this kicks off a chain reaction of exchanges, bishops and both rooks being exchanged. Who's better? Well, in this ending, it's calling it equal. Queen stays on board. Maybe now these earlier pawn advances are coming back to bite black, who has the safer king. This is a healthier structure here. Very active queen post. She enters here on e8, targets the b pawn, but things are still held together well here for black. Superior knight, solid queen post, defending a base point. There aren't any good checks here for the white queen. Knight f3, knight f6, hits the queen. She goes to the corner, keeps pressure on something. Now, a quick note, this knight here on f6, very strong piece. Knight on f6, king on g6, very difficult to rattle that position with the queen. There aren't any good checks with that arrangement. Very strong knight post on f6. g5 under fire, that is secure. And now this position here, equal until this moment here, h4. This turns out to be a blunder. Trying to influence the duo, trying to carve out a square for the knight, not happening. Black's response here is g4. So something was missed in white's calculation. There is a way black can blunder right around the corner here. First of all, the top response to h4 is g4. And now white inserts this check. So did white miss black's follow-up move here? Let's see. Let me throw this one to you as a pop quiz. What move would you play here? Feel free to pause the video. All right, the winning way, move in the game, queen d7. And this will force the queen exchange. Now, there is a way black can go wrong. And the way to go wrong would be to take a step up. And it would be white who is all of a sudden winning with the following move. h5 check. Two options. You have to take with one of the pieces here on h5. If you take with the king, game over. So you would have to take with the knight. This is decisive now. Productive knight, finally. It's come quite a ways. This would be a winning position now for white. King g5. There's queen f7, targeting f5, eyeing g6 in some cases. What other move is there after a line like this? Let's say queen f6, queen d5, hits a queenside pawn, places a pawn in a pin, e4 is right around the corner. And finally, let's say king f6, there's queen h7, hitting a couple pawns. This is a decisive advantage for white. But in this game, the king does not have to step up. Queen d7. You have to go for a queen exchange now. Knight is under fire. So maybe this move was missed or something beyond the queen exchange ending. So let's see. In this ending, material is balanced, but let's look at this a bit more closely. Let's throw this one under the microscope. Why is it that black is winning here? Well, here are the things that grab my attention. The majorities. Black here has a healthier majority. This pawn here boxes out the king. These are the things that stick out to me. Black is only a couple moves away from obtaining a passed pawn. Some support is still required, but a couple moves away from acquiring a passed pawn. White is not able to do similar. This invasive pawn has an influence on the white king. Where do you want to be in the endgame here? Now that the queens are off, you definitely want to approach the center. This pawn is saying not so fast. It's not able to enter so easily, cutting out that f3 square. So, in short, black here with a healthier majority and a much faster track towards the center for the king. We follow here, king f6. In comes f4. Here's a way black can throw away the advantage, meeting f4 with a capture on f3. This would now be equal. Black does not give up this f3 square so easily. Lets this pawn stay put, or keeps the g4 pawn around, boxing out the king. King improves. King e6 it is. In comes e4. Now this may on the surface seem appealing here. What's happening after this pawn exchange exactly? White now has a connected passed pawn. That is super valuable. but it is under control in this case. The black king enters, kicks the knight back. Superior pieces here for black. There's a punch thrown at g4. You could play with h5 or the move in the game. I like the move in the game better. Knight f6. You can't get to e5. Let's watch over a pawn, look at a potential jump at some stage, and also this knight on f6 is doing what? Blockading that passed pawn. Monster position here for the black king. It enters. And what are you going to do about this? Follow up h5. What's white's try at this stage? Goes with a4. I wondered a bit about king to d2. I believe with the move in the game, a4, the train of thought may be, well, let me try and exchange as many pawns as possible and then get it to a point where black maybe only has one pawn advantage at some point and I can sacrifice my knight for that pawn and hold a draw. It's not going to happen. There's just too many pawns around. Superior king position here. If white tried king d2 at this point, there's a couple approaches the computer's looking at. One is to immediately run. c4, c3 hits with tempo all of a sudden. Also, if this knight ever moves, knight e4 is going to hit with tempo. King is certainly vulnerable on this d2 square. Their idea is to advance, push, and after the king is on c2 to make a run towards this wing, start gobbling up pawns. One final approach, should king d2 have been played, knight e8. What's going on with knight e8? Well, what's better than f6? f5. So looking to get to this post where you still blockade that connected passer, but also put pressure on something. Look to collect a pawn shortly. White's approach in this game is with a4. King enters, and black starts cleaning house here. As soon as the knight moves, the other knight hops into the newly weakened square. e4 it is. Defending c5, pressure on g3. The knight runs wild here, tracking the g pawn, and now the h pawn. 3 passers, connected passers for black. Now going after another pawn, targeting the knight. Little fork here, and call it all pawns passed at this stage. Let's see the conversion. It's not a super difficult one. We got passed pawns. Let's start to run with them. And black is way ahead in this race. And we only go as far as g2. That's move 52. And white resigns. If the game continued, let's say with f7, the approach here would not be to queen. It would be to first address this pawn's advance. The way here would be with knight e5, targeting the pawn, ready to sacrifice the knight for the pawn. And if you don't want that, you have to promote to a queen. There's now a fork. The queen is won, and next up, we get a queen. That would be the clean approach. All right. We only go as far as g2 in this one, and white resigns. So a tall task ahead now for Tan Zhongyi, to be sure, trailing at this point 2-4. 2-day break as we now switch venues, moving to Chongqing, Tan Zhongyi's hometown, for the remaining games of this match. What are your thoughts with this one? Feel free, as usual, to leave any feedback to this video in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed it and maybe took a thing or two away. That's all for now. Take care.